Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I know I promised that the 5 years licensed video or 5 years in the hair industry video would be out in January, and January is quickly passing us by. So I have been thinking about this a lot. I've been kind of mentally preparing. I moved into a new workspace, so that is also another reason why this kind of took a little bit longer to get together. Chapter 1 is beauty school. I wanted to go to beauty school right after high school actually, but I got talked out of it. And honestly, that was probably for the best because I was able to go and experience other jobs. I was able to go to community college. I did not go to a university, and I worked for the welfare department for over 10 years. I say welfare department, it was actually social services, but social services, it's kind of like an umbrella term for CPS and adult protective services and welfare like food stamps and Medi-Cal and things like that. And eventually I worked for the county IT department. So that whole story is something totally different. But I was able to experience a workplace that if I had wanted to stay there, I could have stayed there for 30, 40 years and retired from there. But when I turned 30 and I didn't get a promotion into the administration office that I wanted, I just started thinking about what I was doing and if I liked it and if I wanted to keep doing it. And at 30, I think everybody kind of goes through a little bit of a, I won't say a quarter life crisis because that really wasn't what it was, but I think I just started thinking more about what was important to me, if I liked my job, if I liked getting up and going to work every day, which to be fair, it's a great job. It's a great place to work. I know a lot of people that are very, very happy doing what they do there. A lot of amazing people that I am still friends with to this day, and some of them are actually my clients, which is kind of funny now. But, you know, I had to really be real with myself and say, no, this isn't what I want. I don't even want that promotion. I'm glad I didn't get it, but what am I going to do now? So I mentioned to a friend of mine that I was kind of, you know, looking into going to Fresno State, looking into other programs, like not really knowing what I was going to do. I actually thought I was going to go into broadcasting, which is kind of funny. And my friend was like, well, you know, there's plenty of beauty schools in Fresno. And I was like, yeah, whatever. No, I don't want to do that anymore. Because I had told her in high school, I probably brought it up, you know, a handful of times. I actually called a bunch of beauty schools first and asked if they had a night program because that was the most important thing to me because I could not quit my job. I needed my job. I needed to keep working. And I figured the only way I'm going to do this is if I can go to school at night. Fortunately, there was one school in all of Fresno at the time in 2012, and that was Paul Mitchell. So I went and did a tour and pretty much signed the contract right then and there. Once I decide to do something, that's it, it's happening. I will be straight up, completely honest about my beauty school experience. It doesn't mean that that's everyone's experience. I had a really good time in school as a student. I worked Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and went to beauty school from Monday to Thursday, 5:30 to 10. So I would go to school, come home around 10:30. If I had to stay late at school for any reason, I'd get home at 11 and then get up and go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and just do it all again the next day. I definitely saw value in the Paul Mitchell name. I thought that would help me with my career. I thought that I could get some type of leg up, I guess you could say, because in Fresno, we have a tremendous amount of hairstylists and hair salons and just like everything beauty that you can think of. We're really, really oversaturated in this area. And so I felt like, okay, any advantage that I can get, I'm gonna have to use it. So yes, I really did buy into the whole Paul Mitchell name thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, to be quite honest. Now, if I had had other choices like Tony and Guy or Aveda or other schools, who knows? I probably would have had a much tougher choice between all of those programs because there's a bunch of programs in other parts of the United States that are awesome. We just don't have them here where I live. They break it down like this. So the first 2 months of night school, and like I said, it's probably different now because They've changed it to Monday through Friday, but whatever the case may be, this is how it was for me at the time. I started in February of 2013, and the first like 2 months, you're just in a classroom. And you're with your group that starts the same night as you. Everyone's together, everybody's on the same page, and you literally are just studying out of the book. And there is a teacher that is teaching you from the book and giving you hands-on activities to do on your doll head. So you're not touching another person unless it's something that is not permanent. It's not a permanent change. We would shampoo each other's hair. We would give each other scalp treatments. We would practice blow drying on each other. Things like that. Anything that was a permanent change had to be done on your doll head. And the idea is that any mistakes that you're going to make that are a permanent mistake or a somewhat permanent mistake would be on a doll head, not on a real person, which is good. The group that I was with in beauty school, from day one, I had just some of the most amazing people, and people that I actually still talk to this day. So, there's a lot of people that I met through beauty school that, were further along than me or had started after me, and I'm friends with them too to this day. And it's actually a very nice like camaraderie that you do get because you're together every night. Like 4 nights a week is a lot of time to be around the same group of people, especially for the first 2 months. You're like stuck in a room with these people. The mix of people was kind of nice because I didn't feel like such a weirdo being in the classroom, being in my early 30s, because some of these girls were straight out of high school, like legit straight out of high school. And I did feel out of place sometimes, but then, you have your friends there that are around the same age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, and you kind of just forget about all that. So the people that I met, awesome. My instructors, for the most part, awesome. I was really, really lucky to have some really, really great instructors that really cared and instructors that wanted to see the potential in the students and kind of gave students the opportunity to learn at their own pace. I never felt rushed. I never felt like I wasn't good enough. So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but let me go back to the first couple of months. So the first couple of months that you're in school in Paul Mitchell is what they call core. And that's basically teaching you, like I said, fundamentals. You really start off with the absolute basics. Then you move into what we call protege, and protege is a shorter time span than core. But protege is where you start to take real clients, your friends and your family first. It's one of the most difficult things to do is to ask somebody to sit in your chair. At night school, it's really, really difficult to have somebody come and sit in your chair until 10 o'clock at night if you're being super slow, which I was for a little while. You get a little bit more confident being more hands-on. And then the next step is creative. You are now on a schedule where you have like one night of theory where it's actually a lecture from the Milady's book. Milady's is the textbook of cosmetology schools pretty much all over the US, taking written exams based on that chapter that week. And it's preparing you to take the written exam for state board. We cover everything from chemistry to biology to diseases of the skin and scalp and nails, how to be sanitary. Being sanitary is probably the number one thing that you learn in beauty school. By far, you want to be sanitary. Sanitation and disinfection is like huge, and for good reason, because you don't want to be that reason that somebody is sick or somebody gets an infection from being literally in your chair or you using something dirty on them. So you would have specialty classes, whatever other night of the week, and it would be color specialty, cutting specialty, spa specialty. In cosmetology school, cosmetology is the big umbrella, and cutting, color, texture, spa are under the cosmetology umbrella. And I kind of knew from day one that hair was more my thing, but there was times where, yeah, I would do a lot of facials. I wasn't a big fan of doing nails. I wasn't really good at it either. I love hair. I knew it from, like I said, almost day one. I did a lot of what you might call extracurricular activities in beauty school. So Paul Mitchell schools, they really promote doing things in the community. And it is a good way to network. So they call that design team to find us events in the community. to work on. So it would be like fashion shows or photo shoots or commercial shoots. And then the other like extracurricular thing was caper. So caper happens once a year. And because I was in beauty school for almost exactly 2 years, I actually got the opportunity to go twice. You earn your way to caper by selling product. And so they come out with these specialty, almost like gift sets every year. And sometimes they have a theme, sometimes they don't. So there's a specific number of bags you need to sell. And the number kind of varied from school to school depending on how far, how close you were from the actual caper location. Because sometimes it would be in Las Vegas, sometimes it would be in California at Disneyland, sometimes it would be in Orlando at Disney World. So I don't know where else they've had it. Those are only 3 places that I was aware of. I went to Vegas twice. Vegas was the only option when I was in school, so that's where I went. And so I did sell the required number of bags to get me to caper both years. It was really emotional for me because it was so inspiring. There was a lot of my mentors or people that I looked up to, a lot of the national Paul Mitchell educators. So you would see the same people that came to your school to talk to the whole school about how to be successful as a hairstylist, how to do this color, how to do this cut, how to market yourself on social media, things like that. You would see those same people at caper. Sometimes it would be the first day, sometimes it would be the last day. They would always move it around, but it would be like a hair show for Paul Mitchell students. And caper was just for Paul Mitchell students. And there's so many schools, probably now more than even back then. So there's so many schools, and then so many students from each school get to go, right? So it's all Paul Mitchell students from all over the US. And it's basically a hair show on stage for us, right? And they would have, like I said, all these educators doing all this crazy stuff on stage, coloring hair, cutting hair, speaking, explaining what they're doing. Then they would have like almost like a fashion show element where it was like very avant-garde, and these models would come out in these elaborate costumes, from educating about color and cut to motivational and inspirational stuff, all the way to this avant-garde kind of fashion show type environment. So it kind of was like a preview of the things that you could potentially do if you pursued these things, right? And so, like I said, that would be like one day, and then you would have the rest of that day to kind of walk around and buy stuff, and it was all Paul Mitchell stuff, right? And then you could walk around to I don't remember the name of it, but it would be like a lounge almost, like a learning lounge, and there would be all these almost like mini classrooms set up, and like a hair show, each little booth would be teaching something, and watch someone do a haircut or watch somebody demonstrate how to do a color or whatever. So then there was always like what they call a white party. And so everybody wears white and it's a party, but because it's an educational event, there's no booze, no nothing. Now, we're in Vegas. So inevitably, plenty of people, not me, but plenty of people would go out and drink, and then they would miss their class at 8 o'clock the next morning, or whatever the educational part of it was the next morning. A lot of the time you would see people kind of leaving the white party and go out on the strip and do their own thing. We went to Caesars both times, so we were right there where everything is. So me and my group, each time we were just like, no, we're not into that. We came here to learn. Like, I don't know. And at 31, 32, I was just like, I don't need to do that. Like, that's not what I'm here for. But I guess if you're 21, 22, like that would have been a huge temptation, especially if your friends are telling you, let's go, nobody's gonna care, nobody's gonna notice, this and that. And they do notice, because this is it's a school event, like no matter what anybody tells you. And like I said, I always felt like it was super educational because that's what I wanted to get out of it. And I actually thought that people I met at Caper would like give me a job someday. And who knows, that still might happen, but I'm just saying. It was almost like the assumption that a lot of us students came to was like, if you go to Caper, and you make the right impression on the right person, you could get an opportunity, this and that, which is totally fair because I know people that have actually gotten really, really great opportunities from being around those people. So it definitely happens. It didn't happen for me, let's just be honest, but it could happen. This cat has no time for me until I turn on the camera and she wants to move the tripod and the whole nine. Okay, here we go. I get it into my head that I want to be on stage at Caper. I want to be on stage at hair shows. I want to be on stage pretty much anywhere, right? Okay. So, and that's kind of what propelled me into the last big push before I graduated from beauty school. So there is a thing called Dean's List, and Dean's List is extra work, basically. So there is a packet that you complete for cutting, there is a packet that you complete for color, and another one for texture, and then makeup at the time was optional. So I didn't do that one because I was coming into the Dean's List game a little bit late. Usually people start a little earlier. The packets are full of actual tasks and activities that you have to do, and they are documented either in a textbook somewhere or you have to take actual photos of your work. So before, during, and after photos, you have to explain everything that you did. It's a project. It is really a school project to do Dean's List. I was convinced that doing that and being on Dean's List and going to Caper twice and being a good student and, having almost perfect attendance, like I really felt like all those things were going to help me in my career, right? Because that's what we're told. And it's not a bad thing. Once I told myself that I could do those things, I was motivated enough to go do them. I'm just saying that there were certain reasons why that appealed to me, right? It's not going to appeal to everyone. But in my case, I really enjoyed those things. Doing Dean's List was really, really hard, but I really wanted to get it done, so I got it done. Finished my 1,600 hours. The only negative experiences I had as a student were other students, quite frankly. Because there's always personality clashes wherever you go. I became a lot more positive because of beauty school. I became a lot more confident because of beauty school. I had found something that I was really good at. Like at the county, I was okay at my job. I was good at my job. I did my job. So my confidence was just like, oh yeah, I reset passwords all day. Like, who cares? I was very negative about certain things about myself. And beauty school really helped me to see what I was good at and like tangibly feel and touch what I was good at, if that makes sense. And so it was definitely a huge boost for me personally. It was nice to be good at something, and it was nice to excel at something. And I did excel at beauty school. I did. And that was something I could really feel good about. I would get jealous of other students if they got opportunities that I didn't get, but I think that's normal, and I think that's kind of what they want. I hate to say it like that, but like healthy competition was always a part of the beauty school experience, because it was like, well, you could have gotten that opportunity too if you would have showed up, if you would have done this, if you would have done that. And it's so true. Like to this day, and it's true now as a professional, if you don't show up for something, you're not going to get that opportunity, clearly. But it also taught me that there's certain opportunities that are not for me. And even if I try and I don't get something, it's not that I'm bad or that I'm not good enough. It just means that they went in a different direction. So that was a good learning experience for me too, to not be so hard on myself when I wouldn't get an opportunity or when something didn't really go my way. I would say that beauty school overall was a really, really positive experience. The cherry on top though, and what I kind of am a little bit embarrassed about, was that I decided that I wanted to be valedictorian. And you might be asking yourself, why is there a valedictorian for beauty school? I don't know. I don't even know why we had a ceremony. It's so, now looking back, at the time I guess it did make sense too. Like we've, done 1,600 hours and, it's time to celebrate and like, let's have a graduation ceremony. So they would have one in like December or January, and then they would have one in June. I think that's right. And so because I graduated, I finished my 1600 hours in February. I had to do the graduation ceremony in June. So state board I took in March of 2015 and I passed. Thank God I passed. State board is going to be the next chapter, but I'm notified because I put my name in the running for valedictorian, which just means that I give a speech, and all of a sudden they say yes. And I give a little speech and it's cute. I guess my feelings about it will kind of make sense. You know, the further along we get in this series, the more that'll make sense. The next chapter of this series will be about actually going to state board and taking the test and passing. I hope that this has been of some value to somebody who is either thinking about beauty school or someone who has gone to beauty school and is kind of, you know, reminiscing about the experience. Like I said, this series is going to have a lot of chapters. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. Being 5 years in this industry obviously is, for me, a huge milestone, because everybody says when you're starting out that if you can survive the first 5 years, you're going to be fine. And I really took that super seriously. And so now that it's, you know, quickly approaching, it is time for me to kind of reflect. That is the end of chapter 1. I will be back with chapter 2 shortly. I will be uploading on Wednesdays and Fridays, back to the usual schedule. So I just appreciate you watching. If you have not done so already, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload. All of those things really help. If you went to a Paul Mitchell school, if you went to a different school, I would love to hear your experience as well. So thanks and have a great day, and I will see you in the next chapter.